there's different styles of swings, and we're not saying like one's right, one's wrong and stuff. We'll tend in an athletic context use more of a hip hinge dominant swing. So sometimes you'll see people, they'll kind of squat and then they'll kind of lift more up and stuff like that. What we use typically is a hip hinge motion swing. So one of the things to do first if you're coaching it is make sure, can they actually do a hip hinge, right? And so, you know, if you have them, you know, hip crease, doing kind of the Dan John hip hinge, can they do that, right? And the idea that the swing is just kind of that sped up. So if people have never done that before, check that motion up, right? And just work on that, chest up, weight on the heels, reaching the hips back into the hamstring stretch, and then coming up to the glute squeeze, okay? And that's kind of your first goal with that. And so some people could do that, and you just look at one rep, and you're like, yep, let's move on. Other people, it might take some time, and if need be, that can be their first exercise, okay? Another progression that we talked about yesterday with the other group is actually doing like a speed hip hinge. Is kind of an intermediate step between the hip hinge and the swing. And so what you would do is you just hold the weight here, and this could be a dumbbell or a kettlebell, and this is also from Dan and John, but basically just here, and you just go down, and then just come up quickly, just to kind of understand what the hip snap feels like, okay? And once you've got that down, you're well on your way to a swing. And so with the swing, once you're doing it, what you want to do with this is you're going to go, you don't need to go crazy wide, but just wide enough that you've got some space for the kettlebell to go. And what works well is to start out here, and then I can just kind of, if I pick the kettlebell up, it starts to swing back, and then I can just grab it and go from there. So it's here. And then when you're done, depending on where you're there or slightly in front of you, so the idea that if you're doing it careful from the back, what's happening is that you're coming up high in the crotch here, and it's kind of like you're hiking a football. Like you just do right up here. And what used to get me for years is I'd always be lower here, and that's where you kind of tend to feel it in the back. So keeping it kind of up here and tight will help you a lot with just getting that hip snap. Other thing is that it should be fast and crisp. And so sometimes if you see it slow, what's happening is the athletes, they're not using the right muscles, so they're kind of like thinking of it as like a front raise, and they end up just kind of doing more of this. So it should be basically, it's my hip snap here that sends the kettlebell flying, okay? And if I was to let go of it, it should go more forward, right? So I take Corey out, I go forward. Hope that I can do that. How does it? Cool. Questions with that?
Just with speed of coming back through the backward motions swing, I know like when I was doing that, I needed to speed that up, so like how would you?
Okay, yeah. What I'll typically do with the speed coming down is, my first priority is the motion, so just like making sure that like even if they don't come down that fast, that the motion is decent. But I think there's benefit to that, both from safety and from effectiveness, to get that kind of reactive strength where you're having that transition happen quick. What you can do as people get more advanced is you can encourage them to kind of like pull the kettlebell back down. So like basically when they've come up to here and they've got that plank, then they can think of pulling the kettlebell back down. And Dan and John likes to talk about attacking the zipper. Okay, and you basically just think of, you know, going right at your crotch with that. And the idea of that is that there's survival mechanism built into that, right? So you set something come towards your crotch, whoa, right? But then I'm right in the right position. So there's, you know, you can kind of encourage them to actually pull down to get that faster. So you get this. So from here, it's kind of like, and then there's a bit of a pause there. So you kind of get that rhythm going. In some cases, people have used like bands. I think that probably don't need that in many cases. Sometimes what I've done as well is like if they're getting more advanced, they just tend to get the down part quicker, is actually just kind of, you know, stand here as the coach and give them a little push and push the bell down just gently. But most of the time just cue them to pull it down once they've got everything else. And that's kind of the last of everything to kind of end up from there. But it should just gain to be that really fast, snappy hip